Suicide rates throughout the country are skyrocketing as people are told that they're not allowed to leave their homes and they should stay afraid all the time. It really shouldn't be surprising. But in any case, in Knox County, Tennessee, the mayor of the county is shocked by his numbers. And I realize that mayor of the county sounds like an oxymoron. In Tennessee, that's the way they do it. I realize that a mayor is usually, the head of a city as opposed to a county, but it's Tennessee. So in any case, in Knox County, in 2019, they had 199 suicides throughout the entire year, so roughly one every other day. Now they're having routinely about 9 suicides in every 48-hour period. It's actually escalating over time, which again can be expected as people are being told that the world is ending, that they might die, they can't leave their houses, you're going to be in debt, you may not have a job left. People are being terrorized. Deaths of despair are going to skyrocket, and I don't just mean suicide, I mean things like overdoses too, things that people do when they're frankly in a very desperate state, all right? People don't know when or if these lockdowns are going to end. There's no timetable that's been given by either state or federal governments. People don't know if their jobs will still continue to exist. For business owners, in many ways, it's worse because some of those people know that they have to shut down their businesses for good, which means that they will lose their savings. Business owners make more, right? And so a lot of people just kind of ignore the plight of business owners when their businesses die. But business owners make more because they incur all of the risk. All of their savings, all of their work, everything goes into the business. If the business dies, they're in a really bad situation. There's a trade-off. When you become an employee for a company, you're accepting that, on average, you're going to get less pay than the boss of the company. But you do so because you get stability in return, in security. There's zero risk. If, for example, the business fails completely, which is the worst case scenario, the business fails or you quit or you get fired, you move on to some other business and you have something that you put on your resume. When you're the business owner and the business fails, it's not like that. You owe the bank for a lifetime. You've given up your savings. In some cases, you've given up your home that you live in, all of that hard work, and you can't even put it on your resume because future employers don't want to hear about this time when you worked for yourself. They don't even count that. So it's devastating for these small business owners around the country, and people used to be grateful that some people did incur all of this risk, did stick their necks out and start their own businesses. And nowadays, it's like people don't see it that way anymore. I think it's truly tragic. But there is a service in starting a business and allowing others to have safe and stable jobs. Anyway, these suicide rates, as I said, are going up around the country. In Knox County, Tennessee, the mayor, Glenn Jacobs, he was interviewed recently for a local ABC station, and he said in regard to his suicide rates, quote, "That number is completely shocking and makes me wonder if what we are doing now is really the best approach. We have to determine how we can respond to COVID-19 in a way that keeps our economy intact, keeps people employed, and then empowers them with a feeling of hope and optimism, not desperation and despair." He gets it. People are at home being told that everything is going to, fall apart. There's nothing but doom and gloom. There's no light at the end of the tunnel that's being given. And if you look at the economic ramifications of people being forced to stay home and businesses being forced by government mandate, including state government, of course, which is where it's usually happening, to close, 3% of restaurants in the United States say they're not going to reopen. That's according to the National Restaurant Association. And that's only if we opened up the doors now, if we allowed them to go back to work now. 3% would say they would not reopen. If we go another month, according to the National Restaurant Association, 11% of the restaurants in the United States will not reopen. And, restaurant business, it's a very risky venture. Some say that it's more risky than any other, but regardless, you operate on very low margins. So yeah, a lot of these people have just lost their livelihoods, and few people seem to be paying attention to these statistics of things like suicides, things that we can use to judge, frankly, just how much of an impact this is going to have on us long term, such as how many businesses are going to be able to reopen. Take take that small number, take the 3% number, and multiply it by all the different industries around the United States. Think about how many jobs are lost, how many companies are lost. You're talking about economic devastation. And for what? Is there some guarantee that when we open everything back up, that they won't just this virus won't just travel around again like it would have in the beginning? I don't see any reason to believe that when we do send everybody back to work, assuming that those jobs are there, that the virus isn't just going to travel to those people like it would have originally. Only now, it would do so alongside economic devastation. I haven't seen any data to prove that. And right now, most people think, that after this, they're going to go back to that job, whatever that job is. Maybe not. What happens when we find out that actually that job isn't there anymore? And maybe the other job isn't there either? You see, we're being fed this false dichotomy repeatedly, that you have two options. Option one is we shut down all the businesses, tell everyone to stay home, and as a result, we save tremendous numbers of lives. And the other option is we open up these businesses and everyone dies. I don't think that's true, and I think we're seeing that. That's why I'm bringing up these suicide rates that are escalating throughout the country, because there is a toll, there is a cost to shutting everything down. There is a cost to forcing everyone to stay at home, to mandating that businesses are closed, to operating in a tyrannical manner, to, frankly, terrorizing everyone. There is a cost in the form of poverty and in more direct deaths. If we have a complete economic collapse, the likes of which, might mirror the Great Depression, for example, you'll have people who are unable to get food, who are unable to get medicines, who, do die of suicide en masse. This is something that few people are willing to consider right now. And it's like, okay, so if you do have complete economic collapse, how many more trillions do they need to print to fix it? Yeah, you can't fix it like that. That's the point. And, we're all just kind of waiting on what? The government to say, well, here are the approved medicines. This is what's going to work. This is what's going to fix it. I mean, seriously? I worked at HealthWise for 10 years. I can tell you, when the approved medicines come out, they're probably going to kill more people than the virus itself, especially if it's some vaccine that's funded by Bill Gates. And if you don't believe me about how the economic impacts impact real people in a very tangible way, the Google searches for can't pay rent have gone up 15 times since the start of this, because people can't pay rent. The searches for can't pay mortgage are between 5 and 10 times. People are seriously struggling, and it's going to get worse the longer we go on like this, because ultimately, you might be able to borrow from friends and work with them for small periods of time, but the longer you go without an income, well, the more likely you are to not be able to pay your rent or your mortgage or eventually your food. We need to reverse this as soon as possible. Wait, if you enjoyed that video, please remember to like and share. I can't grow without you. Also, if you want to be reliably notified of new videos, don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. If you're able to support the production of these videos, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe at Subscribestar, or maybe get one of the healthier products, or even get some merch.